Welcome to this edition of the $1 Million Mastermind Podcast. This is where we pick the brains of high achievers from all walks of life and get their hard-earned, real-world insights on winning. I'm your host, Larry Weidel. I'm here with Gus Gonzalez, and we're having fun talking about winning and developing character, and which is a often overlooked thought. But now, what have you learned about business that really set you apart? What do you think that you learned and things you put, things, it's one thing to have the character and everything, but it's demonstrated by what you do. It's like, what are things that you put yourself, ideas and strategies you put yourself behind, and it brought into your life and brought into your business thing that allow you to get ahead. And, we talked about the leverage, the idea of leveraging yourself. You have great ideas. Even what we talked about there, the moment you stop caring about who gets the credit, you got to put yourself in a position to explode, because you're free to bring in people. Some people are afraid to hire super talented people because they're afraid they're going to get more credit,
100%.
And, it's amazing what people do to themselves. But what are things you did and concepts? You read all these books, you had all these things, a successful person does all these kind of things. How did you get more efficient? How did you, when it comes to time management, to scheduling, to decision-making, to, squeezing the most out of your day and compounding your growth? What are concepts or things that you learned, that you installed, and you saw an immediate benefit from?
All right. Okay. So you mentioned about reading a lot. That's one thing that I started to do early on, read a lot. And then I chose to start implementing, right? Which is, it's so easy to read and never really translate that into real life, right? Into your day-to-day thing. So I took a couple of books. Actually, I can tell you three books that really impacted me, right?
Yeah.
The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, Think and Grow Rich, and Think Like a Winner, right? So I literally took those books, and all of them have exercises in them, things that you literally need to do, okay? Like saying affirmations, writing a certain thing and just reading it every day, or having this visualization things. Start with the end in mind, and you have to do an exercise of you're literally writing your obituary, and you're imagining yourself there, and people are talking about you. They're mourning. How many people are there? What are they saying? Who's speaking? Things of that nature. And I actually started doing those things. I actually started saying, the first thing I did was like, okay, you know what? I'm starting this, and if I don't, I will die here. They're going to I said that for my marriage and for my business. They will take me out feet first. Okay? Yeah. I am dying here, period. Yeah. End of story. Okay? I don't care how bad it gets. Okay? Yeah. And I told my wife, hey, you know what? You're going to have to hire somebody like the Gucci people and just have me killed, because I'm not leaving, okay? And not only am I staying grumpily, I'm going to stay actively working to try to make this thing better, okay? So I started.
How did that come to you? I don't keep your train of thought, but how did that come to you?
Because the character issue, the biggest character issue was running away from things, not dealing with things.
All right. Yeah.
Right. So I had to like stick to itiveness, right? And Think and Grow Rich says it, right? You have to plant your flags. You have to stick with one thing. If not, you're not gonna be successful, right? And then you start reading biographies, and you see how other people deal with mental toughness, and how they become mentally tough and how they react to crap and on that kind of stuff, right? And you see that nobody wins instantly. It's not, it's never like this, right? I mean, and the few cases that it is, you usually see fallback, you see some issue, right, that takes you down, and then you have to come back. Like Steve Jobs was freaking, he was taken out of his baby, right? But then he came out stronger for it and took it to a different whole new level, right?
And the thing is, I think this is a big point, and people need to think about it. That's when you're really committed. But I can remember when I was 27 years old, starting a new business, and wife, stay at home, wife didn't work outside the home, bring home any income, 2 young boys in Atlanta, Georgia. And it was like, all of these things, what if this, what if, we all have the what ifs.
Yep.
And, I was putting, I went for, I don't know how long, cash, back then, no credit cards. And you had to, no ATMs. You had to write checks for everything. So I would go and write checks for $5 or $10 to put gas in my car, Gus, because I knew that would clear the bank. You know what I'm saying?
Wow.
I wouldn't, if I wrote it too big, then I'd get a $20, $25 check, charge extra. I couldn't afford that, but I knew if I did $5 or $10, that would get through the bank. But and so I was that low for that long, and the challenge is to quit or whatever. But I remember the definite moment where it's like, are you going to quit? Are you going to quit? And I said to myself, it was like Esther in the Bible before she was going to go into the king. And when you walked into the king and unannounced, and he didn't call for you, she had an urgent thing she wanted to bring to just go with him. And before she went in, she said, if he doesn't smile, she's gonna die.
I'm done. They can take your head off.
If he, unless he smiled. And so of course so before she went in, she said, if I perish, I perish. I'm going in. If I perish, I perish. So that's what I said to myself. And of course the king smiled. And he actually wound up chopping the head off of somebody else, the guy she was going in there to complain about. But somebody did get their head chopped.
Somebody got it.
Someone got it, but it wasn't her. And so the thing is, I said, and what is great relief to yourself, if I perish, I perish. And when I went to North Carolina, equally stupid move financially, went up there with no money, dumber than crap, to put my family at that kind of risk, what an idiot. But, I said up there, I'm going to attack the best way I know how. And if I fail, I said this right from the beginning. I said, if I fail, it will be with a bang, not a whipper. And it will be a belly flop heard round the world. Everybody will know that I failed, because if I go out, I'm going to go out big, So you have to be willing to come to those things. You might not do it exactly like that, but it is a tremendous freeing thing.
100%.
And I found out, Gus, that kind of situation kind of comes. I've started using that approach. We're always planning. Am I going to go here? I'm going to go there. If I go there, it's going to put a time thing. I'm going to be worn out, and to get up and to go there and do that. There's all these trips. You can't move your business without moving your body.
Right.
And you can't enjoy the exciting things you want to in life without going through some stress points on travel and tired and not getting the sleep. And I was thinking about this thing this summer. It's like this one deal. And it's like, well, if I go in there, I'll be exhausted when I get in, and I have to get up the next day, and I'll be on my feet the whole day. But I really want to do it, and then I've got to drive somewhere else the next day. And it's going around my head. Should I cancel this, that, and the other? But finally, how I dealt with it? I said, well, if I'm tired, I'm tired.
That's it. You want the result, and you're willing to pay the price.
I get exhausted walking around, on my feet during the day, I'll sit down, I'll get something to drink, put my feet up for 15 minutes, then I'll go again. And at some point you got to say, well, if it does, it does, but I'm going. It's like, to squeeze in vacations. I mean, just little things like a family vacation. It's like, well, the business will go here, but I'm going. You have to make, it's what you'll tolerate in your life. Somehow you reach these things and you say, somehow we'll figure it out. There's always an adjustment. And as you're moving forward, so I can really relate to going through the things. What are some other things that you went through that were big transition things, or that added power, or you saw big results from?
All right, so I started implementing, like I said, right? So I got these books, read them, started implementing things, right? And then again, this is a personal thing, and this is going out to a lot of people. So we're not trying to push any idea or anything like that, or religion or anything like that. But in my personal experience, I came to Christ under this trial circumstances, right? But then in 2003, I remember October of 2003, I almost had like an epiphany also there too, where I said, man, I cannot be one person in one area of my life, a different person, another area of my life, a different person, at home, a different person in my business, a different person spiritually. I just need to be one person, right? And kind of bringing those things together. So another thing that really for me was important, I changed. We're dealing in a business of people, right? I made a decision, man. If I can help if somebody comes to my business and I have a choice, literally a choice of helping them go to the next level spiritually and in terms of character, or helping them move to the next level in business and help them become, in our terms, the regional vice president and have their own office, I said, the first one, the person first. And then that commitment made me free to do what I needed to do to really, there's this thing that says, people say that they don't care how much until they know how much you care, and that kind of thing, right? So it really became a real thing about, okay, what is the best thing for this person, right? So I started dealing with things. Okay, I want to make this concept where if you and I had an interaction, I want you to walk away feeling better about yourself than before. And I think that was one of the things that had the biggest impact in our business. And sure enough, you get everything else added to it.
For those of you who are sick and tired of fooling around and are dead serious about wanting to move up fast, I've got something especially for you. I've combined the best insights from over 40 years in business and making $70 million in income and compressed them into a free webinar. That's right, it's a free resource. If you want to find out exactly what the concepts are that I use in coaching $1 million earners, register now at WeidelOnWinning.com. You'll discover the 5-part framework used by so many to reach their financial, personal, and professional goals. You can find that link in this episode's show notes. At this stage in your life, once you started having success, of course you enjoy, you move, you've had a chance to move and reposition yourself. How important is it to stay engaged and keep having new frontiers, new projects, new things to get involved in? Have you found that that's a big part of staying energized?
Absolutely. I think that retirement is not a biblical thing, not a biblical concept. When I talk.
And by the way, before you go there, I didn't want to interrupt you before, but we're not going to apologize if someone feels like we're pushing the Savior of the world, the Lord Jesus Christ. I'm not going to apologize for promoting the Lord Jesus Christ. However, I'm also not going to stomp on someone else's beliefs. Right. I'm not going to apologize or hide what I or what you believe because it's been core to our success. And if somebody else has a different experience, they're entitled to that. I'm not going to,
That's great.
I regularly touch base with people I'm in business with around the country that are Muslim or Jewish or whatever, and say, are we offending you? Are we on the same page? Do you feel like, because, there's no reason to be apologize on something that's part of your core.
Right.
And so we believe Jesus Christ, the Savior of the world, and unapologetically, and we're not going to step on your. It's not my job to tell anybody else they're wrong.
Exactly.
That's not but I can tell you what makes me right, and so I wanted to correct that there, Ron.
All right.
I wanted to make that adjustment,
Yeah, perfect. I mean, great. I just didn't know, where to take that, but it's such an important thing of my own experience that I cannot leave it out. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Okay. So where were we going?
We're talking about new challenges,
Okay,
and is it a problem?
Yeah.
Is it a problem to think about, the thing about being a serial winner is when you have successes, new opportunities open up, bigger opportunities open up.
100%.
And you develop skill. I mean, you got skills now you never had before.
Yeah, 100%.
You also have friendships and relationships and insights, and you know how to get things done. And, you like situation, how to make things happen like you never did before. So, but that's useless unless you actually make something happen.
But man, it's incredible. This is a great conversation, by the way. Thank you for having me, because it's really it's been really awesome. And so I was saying that retirement is not a biblical concept for sure. Clearly, you can see that in the Bible, but it is not. It's a concept. It's straight out of industrial the socialism's response to the industrial revolution, right? So it's it's kind of like weird. So I thought that's what I wanted, because you're trained to think that way. And then I found it, and I'm like, no, this is not good. It's not. So you need to keep yourself active and always have a new challenge, a new goal, something you're going for. That's where growth comes from. You're either growing or you're dying. You say this all the time about the business side of things, right? When it comes to recruiting, but it's also true of you personally as an individual. I keep myself challenged. I'm looking for new things. Small things, because sometimes doesn't have to be a huge project, right? But as long as it is a project. For example, something small. I'm going to Italy in September, right? I have a little base knowledge of Italian. And you know what I did? I got an app, the Spinslurp thing, whatever. I pay $14 a month, and I take one class every day on my own. Nobody's telling me, right? Because you use what you have learned, the sticking to things, the starting and finishing, the
Right.
growing, all that. So I'm doing that and I'm getting better. My goal, I have a very specific goal when I get there in September to have fluid conversations with people. Okay. That's a small thing, but it's a project, right? So we have projects. I have a project with my wife where we are investing. She got her real estate license, and we're investing here in the Panhandle area, which is there's a huge boom here, in like many other parts of the country, and we're participating in that. And so on and so forth, right? So always keep ourselves thinking of, okay, what's next? Always participate in some project, large or small. And I keep myself active in our business as much as I can from a mentorship perspective,
What's the most exciting thing? What's the most exciting thing you've done in business that you're proudest of?
Oh my God. Obviously in our financial services business, that everything's related to that, right? Because everything else comes from that to me. I mean, that business helped me, that process, right? Turn me into a different person. So having had the chance to reach the highest levels of success in our field, that is definitely my biggest accomplishment.
And what was your expectation of that happening when you came in?
At the beginning, very naively, without just the dream side of me, thought huge things, and it was going to happen very quickly. It didn't happen that way. It was. I thought it was good. You know what? But I tell people it's funny because when it happens, it usually happens way slower than you think, but it turns out to be way bigger than you thought.
Yeah.
So it's kind of interesting that way.
Yeah, and the worst thing can happen to you, we talk about this all the time, is to have some kind of significant success early, because then like you said, you expect, well, I'm just more special than other people. Exactly. They have a hard time, but me.
People are dumb. I don't know how come you've been an RVP for 100 years and you still don't have the, that kind of thing. So yeah, absolutely. And another thing that you mentioned briefly, but I think it's we want to go back there in this process of having new challenges and you've been surrounded with a different kind of person. We intentionally, and I want to credit my wife with this, because I turned to be I could be a hermit probably. I can be by myself a lot, reading and doing a bunch, like I'm doing this Italian class by myself. I'm not going to a school meeting people, and we made a decision based on things that you hear that we needed to change our circle of friends. Okay. That we needed to surround ourselves with people that would challenge us and that were at different levels. Okay, at least at our level, not just financially, but mentally, right? No. We avoid negativity like the plague, right? Yeah. Right. And we start to seek out these relationships, and sure enough, Larry, today, all of our friends are $1 million earner SNSD types, even people that are not in Primerica. Yeah. It's crazy. It's crazy. Crazy that way. So, and most of them are more successful than we are, which is fine, because you can always learn from people and all that kind of stuff. But I remember, I remember a lot of things you say. There's a bunch of wisdom there. But you said, like, you're dealing with our teams. Like, for example, for this conversation, you never spoke to me. I never spoke to you. Somehow, magically, we're here at 12 sharp today, right? And you said one day, I sent these things out, and 500 people should be here, but I know for sure, the one thing I know for sure is that all the SNSDs will be here.
Right.
And
Absolutely.
all the SNSDs will respond, send their thing on time, and be here. And most people would think, oh, that's because they are SNSDs. No, because they started doing those things, they became SNSD. So I believe that one of the hardest things to do sometimes is intentionally you putting yourself in those environments that will stretch you, and doors open up tremendously. I mean, things happen because you start learning things. You start seeing other people doing, oh my God, this person just built this home and just made $1.5 million in freaking 10 months. Took me, I don't know how long it took me to to make $1.5 million in 1 year, right? And then when I make it, it's in a year, and there's a lot that goes into that, right? And then I see this person just do it, boom, like, come on. There's a lot happening, a lot going on that you may not know, or even you're not exposed to it, in that you don't understand it. I think we need to put ourselves in those environments.
With those environments and talk to the people, and you find out what those missing things are, and it makes sense, and you figure out how to get those things in place for yourself, because the growth can domino if it's set up right. And learning those things you don't know because you've never been there before are priceless. The sooner you learn them, the sooner you can implement them in your life. Thanks so much, Gus. Great afternoon. And any one last comment for the up and coming generation that you want to add?
Well, absolutely, man. Keep on doing things like what you're doing right now. You're listening to this podcast. It tells me that you want to get better. You want to go to the next level. You're doing things, but not learning. Learning is not enough if you don't apply. At some point, choose one or two things of the things that we spoke about here today, and just go to the application phase, right? Make those decisions. I'm gonna die here, and choose your lane and stay there until you win, and apply massively. Okay, decide to really 10x your activity in all levels. So whatever it is, learning Italian or doing it, massive application for a sustained period of time.
Absolutely right on point. Thanks so much, Gus. Thanks for listening to the $1 Million Mastermind. If you felt there were any valuable takeaways from this episode, please take a minute and leave us a 5-star review. Your feedback is important and really helps us get the word out to a wider audience. Remember, we have a valuable webinar that is absolutely free. Register for it right now at whitealumwinning.com. Thanks for listening.